I think it is. I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 26, 2018 version of the VOLTHA call. Again, I'm Eric Brockman. I'm a co-worker of Julie, and I'll be hosting today with Sean's help. Appreciate everybody joining. I've attended a number of these calls and have always impressed with the way that you guys have worked on this project, so I'm glad to be a part of it. Let's jump into it today, and again, Sean, I'm going to be leaning on you a little bit. I'm sharing my desktop, so I'm ready to go into, as Julie prepped me to do. We want to look at these with Sprint 3 targeted to complete this Friday. She's got us looking at a number of, let me see if I can get to the right screen. Yeah, this is where I want to be. Sean, I think with your help, I'm going to, we need to walk through these line for line. And I'm going to start with that 954 probably, and I hope that everybody will jump in and help me with these. I think we mainly need status on these 12 in the middle. So let's jump into it and see how it goes here. On this 954, let's see. I've got to get it to where y'all can see that better. Sean, can you see the far right side of the screen there, where it pulls up the detail?
Yep.
Okay. Let's jump into this. I think I'm going to be looking to Dave, Jono, or Matt on this one. This one is still in progress on this 954.
Right. I think I sent an email out to Don.
Nope. Don's here. Sean, I can answer for myself.
Okay.
So the work's done. Matt, is it 954 that is complete and plus 2'd, or it's apps have separate flags for enabling DHCP?
I think it's been +1 by a couple of people.
Yeah, so it's just waiting on plus 2.
Right. It's waiting on +2. I sent an email. I sent a comment to Dave Bainbridge because he makes some comments. So I don't know what the comment exactly meant.
The comment was that essentially the interface to the component has changed. And as such, when there's an interface change that is not backward compatibility in particular, it means there's typically a major version tick. Now, I don't want to hold this up on policy and principle, but that's my comment. It seems to be, do we need to do a major version tick on this versus...
Who are you looking to answer that question? Who do you want to answer that question?
I think we probably should. We say we want to adhere to semantic versioning, and so that dictates that we need to change the version. So we may as well just go ahead and do that, right?
Yeah. Which means we have to. This isn't on a release branch, right? Just like it's master.
It's just a simple change to the POM file to change it to 2.0.0 snapshot.
Okay. No, the question is that the patch itself is being applied to master, not to a release branch.
Oh, yeah, master, yeah.
So yeah, then it's just a simple update in the POM file.
Okay. So is this something we Don, we want this one not just being 2.0, right? Or should, I mean, what I'm saying is that what that for need to include this one.
I guess I don't really care as long as, okay. I mean, we need it, but where you tag it, I mean, when we go live this year, we'll have this fix because we need it. Where you stick it in the grand scheme of things doesn't really matter to us.
So
I guess that's my answer about, or my question about who's going to make the call about how we tag this.
Right. So Dave, what's the? I think you have conversation with Jono. Just happened. So what exactly is the going forward?
Then the patch needs to be updated with the POM change.
Okay.
And the accompanying other changes will have to be made to the places we build the Docker container for Onos. And I think there's one other place. Yeah, John, there's like 2 other places that version update will have to be reflected.
I think it's just in the build of the Docker file, and the Docker file that builds the Onos container.
There's the dependencies. One of the dependencies.
Yeah, the dependencies of XML. Yeah.
Yeah. So for this specific application, I don't know if it's all in the same repo would be the issue. So this patch set needs to be updated with the new version, and then the other repo I think will require changes too.
You're talking about the repo on the Ono side or the repo on the VOLTHA side?
It's in VOLTHA. So each app is its own repo, as I recall, and as well there is the Onos apps repo. I don't know. It's actually called something else. I think the Maven repo or whatever, which builds a Docker container.
Okay, so for this ticket, not just for someone give a +2 and merge, then that's done. There are additional work need to be taken care of, making sure.
Right. Before this can be +2 and merged, this one needs to at least have the POM file updated with the new version and a new patch set pushed. That's pretty trivial. The next one is a patch set has to be created against the other repo for the dependencies.xml to update the version number for that same app. Kind of, how do I want to say this? There's a dependency.xml file that has the versions of each app for which the Docker container depends. And that needs to be updated as well. And that'll be a separate patch set that needs to be created, pushed, and merged. And then once both those patches are merged, this ticket can be closed. That sound right?
Yeah.
So who will be best to do this kind of work? Or I don't know whether Matt had time to work with Jono to get the rest of the stuff updated before the +2 can be applied. Don,
I would suggest. Okay, go ahead.
I think to close this ticket, we can just update the version in the POM file of the OLT repository. So it's a very, very simple change to the patch that Matt has.
I would argue you need both patch sets merged before you can close the ticket, because otherwise it's not actually going to be deployed anywhere. It's just
okay. It seems like pretty complicated.
Yeah. It's really not. We could have done it in the time we're talking about it. It's really easy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Dave, this is Eric. Do we feel like all of this? I'm loosely following what y'all were saying. Can this be done this week, or is it going to be concluded in this sprint, or do you think this will spill over to the next? I guess that's one thing Julie's got me doing is with Sean's help today is, are these going to finish, or which way do we drop them?
Eric, we will make it finish this week.
Okay, but Dave, do you think that with all y'all just described, do we want to try to finish it off this week?
I think John was saying it's pretty trivial and straightforward, right?
All
so we just have to make sure we take care of that by the end of Friday.
All right.
So whether doing that, I may request Matt to work with Jono on this one, so at least we get some exposure regarding to how to get this thing done.
Okay.
So sort of, diverse the resource a little bit, so we don't have to always rely certain people to do this kind of stuff, right? So.
Well, I very much understand that, guys. I mean, that was a great discussion, and I think I've got a better sense of it. Oh, I think the one thing that Julie's looking for is to just, win on this stuff. The other thing, folks, I was in a hurry to get started is that Julie always reads the waiver, the caveat that we are recording this. So just keep in mind, I forgot to tell us at the beginning, that keep in mind for your comments that this is being recorded for future use. So I forgot to read that caveat. Sean, let's keep going. That was a lot of time burned on the first one, and we got 12 to go. There's a number of things that she's got me trying to do for today and spill over into Thursday. So let's keep going. I think that was a good start. On 778, it's still open in Garrett, and there was a Ken. It seems like there's 2 open items in Garrett, maybe, and if Ken is involved, maybe Venkata.
Yeah, the first
I
one
put some comments on these yesterday.
conflict.
I'm sorry, I think two people spoke at once. So, Ken, was that you?
This is John. I was just saying I put some comments on these patches yesterday.
Yeah, John. I just saw the comment. So I'll respond to the comment. So we can close this like maybe 1 or 2 days.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so close this. Okay.
John, who's +2? I think the Ken's name is only on it, right? John,
No, I think
I'm
John is name.
I'm on it now as well.
Yep, you are on. Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, very good. That was 7:10. All right, next is 7:55. Let me click on that. 7:55. Are we going to check with? Is it Gopi? For a new update, are we still on track for this sprint with this one, with my notes on this one for 7:55?
I think this one is waiting for a bug fix from an external party. So not sure whether it will be done in this sprint because we're waiting for fixes from another piece of software that we don't control.
Okay.
So I think Gopi is working with the developers of that software to get that fixed.
Okay. On some of these, Sean, I'm not going to be able to try to update the JIRAs real time, so you and I can go back. I'm just taking good notes, if that's okay.
Right.
And we can go back and set some of these JIRAs.
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, was that enough? Any questions on 7:55?
I also sent a Gopi a comment and asking for an update. But John, you said the external party need to do some work, right? So we're waiting for that. So potentially we'll miss the sprint 3. Okay.
All right. Got it. Okay. 7:14 is next. Let me click that one. I haven't been looking, folks, about who's on. Is this one with? Do we need input from Chip on this one? Oh, he's on vacation.
Correct.
But his comments say he's got some of it done and some of it left to do.
Okay. I think that Julie's notes to me on this one for 7:14 was that it's pretty up. I think it's pretty solid. It's going into sprint 4, but we'll move it later. Sean, on that one. I think that was what I had on that. Any questions on that, or is that okay? Alrighty, let me go on. Nobody's saying anything on that one. We're up to 5:06. Sean, this is one where you had pinged Andy, right?
Right. So we got a response from the Nokia. They cannot finish this in sprint 3, so it will go leak into sprint 4. Anybody from Nokia wants to make comment on this one?
Hey, Sean, it's Andy. We did have a meeting this morning, and there's very significant resources being deployed. So a team in Shanghai and a team in Athens, Greece, have built dual test beds, and they're being supported by a team out of Raleigh as well. kind of sounds like the whole world's involved, but it's a significant effort, and they are. I was seeing multiple emails in the middle of the night last night, so it's advancing, and we are going to commit to finishing it.
Spring 3 or after Spring 3?
I can't swear to the time. It's not going to be by this Friday, but I would think it would be within the next 3 weeks.
Okay. So this one potentially will expand out to Spring 4. Okay.
It could, and I don't know, and I apologize because it kind of, it's got stopped and then restarted, and getting all the both human resources and the hardware and software and whatnot took some time for us.
Okay. If you have any update by Thursday, let us know.
Okay. I will be on the call on Thursday.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. All righty, we're up to 7:05. Let me click on, I didn't click on. All right, here we're up, 7:05.
So this one was held up because we didn't have hardware. We have hardware finally, and Matt started on it like a day or two ago. So
Okay.
it's substantial amount of work here. So this is definitely going to the next sprint.
Okay. Any questions on that, Sean or anybody?
No, I think
Don, thank you.
Yeah, I think Don, I think that that there's like there are a few subtexts also. So yeah, I think this is a big work. So let's see, how the story point right now is 5. I think potentially it's actually more than that. Okay.
Yeah, it just depends on he expects to have traffic flowing like in the next day or two.
Okay.
But there's a lot of other bits he has to solve, and some of it's just unknown.
And again, so we're testing this against the Alpha Network ONU?
Yes.
Okay.
So is this work going to include the technology profile instances?
I don't think specifically. I think this is just matching what Chip has done on the AdTran.
Okay, I get you. All right, thanks.
But obviously the functionality would be pulled out and become part of technology profiles.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion on 7:05? All righty, let's go to 7:62.
So this one we believe is done.
Okay.
But again, we're still trying to solve we don't have enough chassis. So between the work Nick and Shad were doing, we only have 2 chassis to work on. So, and this is BAL stuff. So he's testing it today. Hopefully there'll be a submission today. And then obviously they'll have some code review.
Okay. Sean, any comments on this or?
No, I'm fine. So Don, sorry, I said no. So depends on the code review. So potentially we can get this thing finished by Sprint 3.
I'm sorry, say that again, Sean.
It depends on whether the code review, potentially we can get this thing closed by end of Spring 3, right? So this week.
That's the hope.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, very good, Don. Thank you. All righty, let's see. Folks, let's go on. Let me rotate up a little bit here. Okay, 9:56. All righty, let's see. On this one, do we need a status from Shad, possibly? And please forgive me. My last notes on this were from yesterday, so.
Right.
Sean, what's your thoughts on this one, 9:56?
Is Shad on the call? This is depends on the BAL 2.6, and BAL 2.6 is still in progress. I pretty much don't think Chad was saying he was hoping the BAL 2.6 support can be done by today. So
Yeah, I think BAL 2.6 is actually done as of yesterday.
right. But if Chad is not on the call, Eric, I'm at ONF, so I'm going to check with Chad directly.
Okay, Sean, that's fine. So we just mainly need an answer from him, right? We can get that offline.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's not on the call, so.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, just making note. All right, let's see. We are up to 8:12. Let me click on it if that helps any. And we'll look over here on the right. Is this one waiting on the review?
Yeah,
Let's see.
This one is still in progress. So as Sean, I was saying, I've been in contact with Radisys guys, Girish from Radisys. So they raised a similar issue and for this, but they're waiting to hear from Broadcom. So he also sent me an email regarding the alarms, information on alarms. So I'm looking into it. So I'm hoping to finish this in the sprint. I'll let you know by Thursday if at all it's going to go for next sprint. But yeah, I'm hoping to finish this in this one.
Okay, Ricardo, thank you. All right, I'm making a note. Sean, any comments on that or?
Nope.
Okay, good,
No.
good. We could check in with you on that on Thursday. Right? I'm trying to mark these for a quick Thursday, fella. All righty, let me click on the next one, 849. And this is back to the VOL 2.6 support, which Don and others mentioned. It's kind of, it sounds like it's finishing up, right? So.
Yeah, all the Garrett's show closed.
Okay.
So you might, Sean, you might ask Shad if this is ready to move over.
Okay. Yeah,
wonderful. That's good. Okay.
Nick thinks it is, but Shad owns it, so I wouldn't want to move it without talking to him.
All righty.
Yeah, I just don't know whether there are additional parts Shad need to do after Nick completed his task. So yeah. Okay, I'll check with the Shad today also. So Eric, I'll provide response through the VOLTHA discuss.
All right. Thank you, John. Guys, this is one. It's throwing me just a little bit. When I was looking at this list yesterday, there was a 947 in progress. So, Don, I may need your help on it. Maybe it was already moved.
Yeah, it got +2 last night and moved over. It's right.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Yeah, it's right to the right of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Very good. All right. We're almost done with this little test that we started with here. 1021 is up for review.
I think that's waiting on me to do a review.
Okay.
So I think this afternoon, I've just been slammed with meetings all week, but I think this afternoon I need to spend some time on it.
Okay,
so
great.
This is on me.
Okay, all right. All right, and then Sean, I see that 1040 was not in there yesterday, but it is now. So let's talk about it just for a moment.
So
I don't have notes.
Nick's identified a few little issues that he wants to solve right now. So they should easily be able to be fixed by Friday. So that's one of the ones.
Cool.
Okay. All right, super. Okay. At 1040. Okay. All right, folks. Let me do just a little bit of a change of pace here on something that I almost meant to lead off with. Let me find my right document where I pasted it. This was, if y'all don't mind me jumping over to just some notes that I had pasted here. There was and Sean, I may need your help here, but on the 732 733 and 736. I think that on the 732, we needed feedback from the operators. If the 10-1, there was a discussion that had been going on, I guess, on VOLTHA Discuss, that on the 10-1 situation, as an example, do you need one bandwidth profile or separate downstream and upstream profiles? And then would this may need to go to a breakout session or something, but it was on the, Julie threw it on the agenda for me to cover. I kind of meant to lead off with it and it slipped my mind. So, Sean, help me on this 732.
Yes, this is Sean Nisset here.
Okay.
So basically, this is business tasks within the VOL 731, the EPIC for technology profiles. 732 is a story around making changes on the ONAS apps around the status database, where there's an entry for a subscriber with a flow table ID for a technology profile reference and an upstream and downstream bandwidth profile that can be used to generate the meters and meter bands. So part of the discussions, one area was is the bandwidth profile a combination of upstream and downstream, or is it a separate upstream and downstream one, right? So there's been some back and forth on VOLTHA Discuss. I guess AT&T's perspective is that they should be a separate upstream and a separate downstream, just to avoid the profile explosion where you try to accommodate all the combinations. And so one question is, is there any other operator feedback around having separate upstream and downstream bandwidth profiles or combining them? It seems like there's an issue with combining them, but so that's one question. Another question was, are we going to manage these bandwidth profiles within a local database within ONAS, or are we going to go off platform to access another database to go get the bandwidth profiles? So that was those are the kind of the issues around 732.
Sean, thank you so much for that. I think you've helped to set up the questions there. Let's see if there's any further questions or discussions on this. Do we?
I think
Sean Yang, do you? Go ahead.
I don't see anybody other than AT&T provide the separation of the downstream upstream response. Right, Sean Nisset?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet.
And has Turk Telecom? I mean, if no one, I think Gamsa is on the call right now, right? So.
Hey, Nick, can you help me out?
Hello, Sean. Actually, I can try to get the answer for this question, but I think they will prefer separate downlink and uplink profiles.
Something wrong with
You're saying you prefer separation, right? Also, right?
Yes. They will prefer the separation of downlink and uplink profiles.
Okay. Would there be any I mean, I guess the overflow table ID. I have to admit, I'm not quite understand overflow formats, right? So, would there be any implementation differences between separation, the separate upstream, downstream, profile versus combined in together? Sean, do you know?
Sorry, there's a couple of conversations going on.
Don, I think you're not muted, and so we're bleeding. Your conversation's bleeding in, Don.
Sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right. It's quite all right. We want to hear what y'all have to say as well.
So I guess was the question that are there any issues around the OpenFlow table ID value that be used in the status data record for a reference for the technology profile? Was that the question?
The table ID. So right now, I don't know.
Well, I think I'm I guess happy with where it is right now. I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but the idea is that you select a flow table ID from what we're viewing as a reserve range, 64 to 255, and that basically is used as an index within VOLTHA to access a pre-configured technology profile.
Right. But the meter band will be separate from the technology profile.
The meter band is a separate configuration item. So basically, the bandwidth profile. The idea is the bandwidth profile would be we're using the model of currently is a named bandwidth profile within the status record, one for upstream, one for downstream. It could be combined, but so that will then be used by I guess the VOLTHA app to go look up those bandwidth profiles and convert them to the OpenFlow meter bands. One aspect of that is, what database would be used within ONOS,
okay.
Or is it platform local, or is it external database? Does VOLTHA care? But
okay. And then would there be a dependency between the technology profile and the meter band? For example, certain meter bands cannot. I'm wondering, whether the meter band is defining the bandwidth to the rate is much higher than what the technology profile provision on the physical layer.
Yeah, technology profile doesn't have any rate configuration. It's just the the mechanics of how you connect up the TCONs and gems, but the rate is solely defined by the meter bands from OpenFlow.
Okay. You probably need to remind me again the white paper you put together. I need to dig that out again. Okay, I think so. The Masood from Turk Telecom was saying the separation will be also good, right? So, and Sean, if you want to check with the DT, or I don't know whether no, I think separate. Let's assume we separate. If anybody object that, then let us know.
Okay. Well, I think that was pretty definite there, Sean. If you want everybody to consider to separate unless we have to push back on.
So the other aspect of that, then I don't know if John. Sorry, Eric, but no,
go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
If ONF has any thoughts around, where these bandwidth profiles could be created within ONOS, and is there already I assume there's already some kind of database that could be used for the bandwidth profiles, but that's not my area of expertise.
Would that be part of the SEVA score, SEVA scope?
Yeah.
Because, potentially it could be outside the ONOS too, right?
It could be. But ideally, if it is outside, it would get downloaded locally, right? So it's going to have to be stored somewhere.
Sean, remind me again, do you have the flow, the provisioning flow established in the document?
Yeah, it describes
when the technology profile will be applied, when the meter band will be applied.
Yeah, so it's described from, I guess, ONOS down, right? So within ONOS in terms of creating these bandwidth profiles and whether they're locally stored in a local database or external. I mean, that was kind of left open. It could be one or the other. I mean, is there a preferred implementation we want to go with initially?
Okay.
Do we expect them to change very often?
But there'd probably be a set create. I'm sorry, Sean, go ahead.
No. I don't think it would change frequently. It may change when the subscriber decided to upgrade or downgrade their rates, right?
But I thought we were talking about the profiles, not per subscriber, but the profiles that subscribers could have.
Yeah, I would imagine there'd be a set of them that would be available to be subscribed to by the subscribers, and that would be some fixed set. I mean, it may change every now and again, but there should be a base set that is being offered for service.
Right, or
yeah, so we could just store these in the ONOS network configuration. There's sort of a generic store of JSON data that we could store these profiles in.
No.
So we're all agreed then.
No, not anything but the JSON config in netconfig. Why, if this is part of VOLTHA, why isn't this just pushed to the KV store and read off that? That's already part of VOLTHA.
Yeah, but ONOS needs to know them as well, right? I thought we were talking about how does ONOS understand the bandwidth profile.
Yeah, they need to get converted into meter bands unless we're going to skip the meter band step and just have it held locally on VOLTHA.
So we have already a precedence where ONOS calls out to get information about something from an external system. I would think we'd want to do that to continue that precedent as opposed to make ONOS the store for everything.
Do you have an example of that, David?
Yeah, status. It's a terrible interface. I get that. It's got its own issues, but that's what it is. It's an integration interface for ONOS applications to pull data from an external data source that it can be used in its processing. Why not?
Okay,
do that? That's kind of what I'm suggesting.
So the thought is that the entry within status for a subscriber would be updated with these bandwidth profiles, right? So as well as going out and getting the status data, ONOS would have to go out and get the database for the bandwidth profiles as well. That's what you're suggesting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's fine by me, but unless there are more objections.
I guess I would say as long as the service provider can define it and can refer to it, it can be transparent to us, right? And I wouldn't think the status will have a detail of the rate, but probably just some IDs, right?
It's not defined, so we can put whatever we want wherever we want, right? What my push really is I do not believe that ONOS should be the essentially authoritative store for this information. Obviously,
no.
And I don't think necessarily everything needs to be pushed into ONOS's net config. I don't, particularly for this type of data.
Yeah. Maybe at some point we need to do analysis regarding to pros and cons of the one versus the other.
I mean, I think pulling it through status is also fine with me.
Can you say that again, John?
I just said pulling it through status is also fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, so
okay.
I guess
I'm sorry. This is Mike Gasser. Can you hear me now? I've been trying to talk and I had to dial back in.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys moved past the meter bands and the bandwidth profiles.
No,
So
I do see that this has to be an ONOS, and in the use cases that I presented on the VOLTHA call and that will be coming up in the SEBA meetings, there is a need to be able to, from the ONOS side, abstract this from just a set of meter bands to an externally provisionable tag, like 10 gig or 100 gig or 10 meg or 100 meg or whatever, that so that the upstream devices in a top-down model do not have to know all of the details of, I'm going to use table ID 3 or I'm going to use meter band profile. So there is a need for this to be able to be abstracted in ONOS. So I do see that this has to be an ONOS. I don't know if that's where the conversation went after I was trying to get back on, but I see a need for it to be an ONOS, and specifically under the control of SEBA with some level of abstraction.
But Mike, is that something, the owners definitely need to be aware about that, but do they need to know the detail about it? Or when there's a reference, owners know about the reference, and then when the reference is being called, they go out to the external system to pull the reference down.
What do you mean by external system?
I don't know, maybe some kind of the data store locally or externally.
Yeah. So while you were
I mean, what I called out in the use cases that I presented a while ago was that the profiles can be added into ONOS, and that they be given a specific tag. So that was what I presented a few weeks ago, was that you add bandwidth profiles into ONOS. Well, I mean, I presented that they get added into VOLTHA, but at this time we've abstracted it up to a level of SEBA, and that you'd be able to associate those profiles with the service profile, or an abstract tag, a name, an identifier, something that can be, if I have a 100 meg service and I need to tweak the values of the 100 meg service, I can create a new profile and then retag what the 100 meg service is. So that was what was presented on the VOLTHA call a while ago, was that we provision new profiles. I presumed when we talked about moving to SEBA and moving the abstraction up into SEBA, it would move with it up there as well.
So I guess in the same way that I guess the status record is acquired by ONOS, right? I mean, it goes to the status database and gets that. I guess the proposal was that ONOS would go and get the bandwidth profiles as well that were referenced from the status database entry for the subscriber. So that would be, wherever the status entry is created and held, that's where it goes and gets that information, right? Is that still?
Well, I mean, in a top-down model, we're pushing everything down into. I mean, there is no bump up and jump up and go get something upstream. I mean, it's in a top-down model. We're bringing everything down.
Right. So what would come down would be, in addition to the status record, would be the bandwidth profile entries.
But
no, I mean, the subscriber provisioning thing that I presented previously was the subscriber provisioning thing is on port so-and-so, some port identifier. I want to have residential service, which is used to then determine the technology profile that's already present in the node. And I want to put, 100 meg down and 100 meg up. And those are the parameters that come down. Very simple provisioning service model request. I want, on this port, on this type of service, residential, 100 meg, and I mean, that's basically that's the service provisioning record. There's not a lot more detail in it than that.
Well, so when you say come down, you mean come down to ONOS from some external?
Top down, yes, top down.
Yeah. Okay, so that's right now. That's
the presumption is the presumption is that there's a tie in the abstract model from residential service to specific technology profile ID. from 100 meg downstream to specific set of metering bands, from 100 meg upstream to another set of metering bands. The presumption is that those profiles are already down inside of ONOS, and that there's an abstract level of way of tying into those that then can get pushed down to VOLTHA.
Yeah, right. So now, you know, when a port add occurs, right, or we discover an ONU, then that's notified to ONOS, and there's a lookup into the status subscriber record, and within that record would be a technology profile, flow ID reference, and an upstream bandwidth profile, a downstream bandwidth profile.
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I was not following properly. So you're talking about after the service has been pushed down, then the status record exists inside of ONOS, not that you wouldn't. So I mean, okay, I'm sorry.
Right,
I was coming down from the initial provisioning versus the my ONT rebooted or something. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, once you do the top down flow, then yes. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, that would already be there.
So then so for the bandwidth profiles, then that would also be pushed down along with the status records. So ONOS would already have a set of bandwidth profiles stored somewhere, stored locally on some local database, and then once ONOS gets the reference for the port and needs to configure the service, it uses the flow ID information from the status record. It uses the bandwidth profile reference from the status record. But from the bandwidth profile perspective, it still needs to go look up what that is, you know, what the bandwidth components are, and then translate that into the meter bands that also get configured along with the flow table entries. So I guess the bandwidth profile information would get pushed down along with the status record information. So is that an agreed upon approach at this point? I mean,
okay, I guess I'm missing the point. Things are pushed down, great. What I'm suggesting still is that it's pushed down to a source that ONOS has access to as opposed to ONOS. Right? I'm trying not to use ONOS as a database.
Oh, okay, so the status record.
What do you call it? The SIBA database or the? I mean, there needs to be a database down there for this, and maybe
there's an external right, agreed. There's an external system which ONOS has access for that data. When ONOS is deployed within a SIBA context, that may be fulfilled. That contract may be fulfilled by a component of SIBA. When ONOS is deployed in a non-SIBA context, that contract could be fulfilled by someone else.
Okay. I mean, all right. I mean, if we're just talking about component isolation and separation of responsibilities in terms of which component does what, and I'm okay with that. And making a clean interface, I'm okay with that.
So the current model with the status records, is that held locally by ONOS, or is that some external database that ONOS uses and goes and grabs the status record from?
Okay, it is written or is designed for that to be an external interface for ONOS to go off and make essentially a REST query to another source and get the data. Because it needed to be self-contained for testing purposes, you can also store that information in, it makes me a little sick to say it, the net config of ONOS. But in terms of production, it's designed to be an external system.
Okay.
Well, I'm okay with the design being that way, as long as, you know, that's a component that can be plugged into SIBA and them and is working. If it's a separate component that has a separate set of responsibilities and a separate function, but it can be plugged into the SIBA pod, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so Eric, we got 7 minutes to go. And
Yes, Sean. Yeah, that was a great discussion, and Julie had warned me that we could have, but I think that was very valuable. And Sean, one question I have, because I'm new to this, is that will somebody come back and document? Because I think we've sort of reached an agreement here, or maybe we still need more discussion. We're running out of time today. Sean Ying, will somebody document what we just discussed, or we can try to do that later. I mean, you and I can work on it.
Yeah, we will get on that.
Okay, all right. Guys, let me do
on this one.
Okay, let me do one other quick thing in the next 5 minutes. That was on the next thing on my to-do list, and that was to do this to-do side on the left-hand side of the screen. That was one thing that Julie told me to do. On this 484, there's only like 5 items, so let's get them done in the next 5 minutes, and then Thursday we can pick up with.
Eric, could I just one point?
Sure.
From the other stories. So one question was, how do we want to move forward with, I guess, technology profiles specifically, but I guess this applies to any other changes within the VOLTHA core, right? So the VOLTHA core development is going to be transitioning to Golang, right? So if we want to implement something right now, work on stories that around technology profiles, is the best approach to implement that in Python initially and then translate it to Golang later? Or, I mean, when would someone else be able to modify the VOLTHA core code for 2.0, I guess, is the question.
Right, so my opinion would be that any changes to the core at this point should be done against the non-Python version, which means that if there's a timeline issue, help to complete the conversion away from Python is always welcome. My opinion is the Python core should just kind of be in a steady state right now and bug fix mode.
Right, but now we have there's a blocking item on working on anything new to the core, I guess.
Correct.
Yes, that's why I say, if people want to help out with the core, getting it to go, the help is more than welcome.
So is there a separate repository now that we can get access to?
I think that is something we need to work on. I think I'm at ONF today, and I would like to get this resolved this week. I'll try to come here a little bit more often, because the vacuum period, it can be very unpleasant. So I know it will be hard to do in parallel, but we need to figure out something. Otherwise, until the core become Go language, none of the other things can move forward, especially the technology profile portion. I think the Church Telecom already doing some development, right? So let's let Eric finish the questions.
What you just said, I don't know that I actually 100% agree with, right? If we can agree on what the interfaces look like between the modules, the containers, then both sides can work from the interfaces into their code, right?
But do we actually know what interface it is?
Well, no. I mean, we have to talk. We know how the stuff works. It should be easy to sit down and have like a 2-3 hour whiteboard session to solve, enough interfaces between, the new core and adapters, et cetera, that people can work, and we just meet in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what gets held up is the testing, not necessarily the development. As long as the interfaces are nailed down, I don't think there's a halt to any work that gets done, right? Nothing's going to come to a screeching halt.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't see that whether you change the core to Go or you keep it Python, but you're still drastically changing what you're asking the core to do and what you're pushing out to a separate container that's the adapters and whatnot. You're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if it doesn't matter what the language of the core is.
So when can we do this interface discussion? You said 2-3 hours, right? So, and I guess the whiteboard session probably will be difficult to do since mostly ONF are here. So we probably do still have to go through a conference call, right? So
I don't know, David. I mean, what would your appetite for be for heading down to ONF? And I don't have to. I don't have to. I don't have. What's that?
Up to ONF and south of it.
Or, yeah. I don't know where.
Yeah, as long as I planned for it, it's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to be at the table. The Atlanta Foundry doesn't have to be at the table. I mean, as long as there's a reasonable interface defined between the stuff, you know. I mean, I think those things go way faster if you're in person drawing on a whiteboard. So.
I also think they go way faster if someone comes up with a proposal and then you start tweaking it.
Absolutely.
To try to go from scratch
Freeform.
on a whiteboard.
Yeah, I agree.
So does there, you know, when you say someone come up with a proposal, I would immediately think about Sienna, right? So will there be a proposal available, Sergio? Do you think that something can be done?
So I'm going to have to drop out. We've got a staff meeting I have to go to, but
that's fine, Don. Yeah, we got to wrap it up here, and this has been some great discussion, folks. And we'll pick up on Thursday with the things that I still needed to do, so that's not a problem. But Sean, you asked that last question, but I don't think. Who did you ask, Sean?
Yeah, I'll send out an email, and I think right now.
Okay.
David, let's maybe Thursday meet at ONF. Since you probably won't be here today, so let's do it on Thursday.
Okay, let's
Is Friday a possibility?
Friday
a possibility?
Friday probably works better for me actually, but yeah.
Then so I don't mind. So I think I actually think Friday is better for me too. So, and then Saurav will be home, will be back on Friday. So let me check with the schedule on the ONF folks here, and then I'll send out a meeting invite. And
that sounds great, Sean.
Friday morning. Huh?
No, that sounds great. Thank you for taking ownership of that, and we'll see how that turns out. Folks, I probably got to let everybody go. We're a minute over. And we'll do this again on Thursday. I appreciate everybody's participation. Any final words, Sean? Why?
No. There are several bugs open on the Jira. So if people can, well, I'll take a look at those and then we'll maybe send out some questions back. Okay?
Sure. Yeah. If anybody has time, look at those 5 or 6 in the to-do side too. That was the next thing for us to cover. But if not, we'll cover it Thursday.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
All righty, folks. I'll let everybody go.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.